doing it live. I missed a golden opportunity to say that last episode. And I, when I said I could just record these videos, but I'd rather do it live. And I rewatched it and I'm like, I missed a golden opportunity to say that. It was a funny video. I can't remember his name. It was a broadcaster who just lost it. And he was like, we're doing it live. People made coffee cups about it. It was funny. Anyway, 3 topics. Stick to the notes. Focused. I want to talk about the easy path. The easy path. Okay. While the philosophy of Boil the Frog is to take the easiest, gradualist path ever to get to where you need to go, it's also about challenging yourself basically in the most mild manner possible. Challenging yourself in the most mild manner possible. So, while Boil the Frog is technically an easy path, that's not what that means. You're still taking the hard road. You're still doing things that that other people are not willing to do. You're not taking the easy path. You're taking the easy route to get up the path, which is not easy. I mean, you can semantics this all you want and get nowhere. But basically, Boil the Frog is challenging yourself. It is not the easy path. Regardless of what I just said. The premise of Boil the Frog is to take steps as gradually as possible so you will not jump out of the pot and you will not flash boil yourself. You still are taking the hard road, the road less traveled. And that's the road nobody wants to talk about. And when you take the hard road, people are not going to understand it. They're just like, why are you doing that? You could just do this. It's easy. You just go this. It's easy. Like, what are you doing? You're making it hard on yourself. Like, even today, I was checking out at Harris Teeter and I was checking out my water bottles and I was physically scanning them. And the guy was like, no, man, you just grab this thing here. And I'm like, no, I'm good. It's good workout, you know. It's flipping over a 24 case of water bottles just to scan it 2 times because I had 2 of them. And that's the little stuff you do for yourself is you don't take the easy road. I mean, it's easy because there's no rewards at the end. And the fact that the end of the easy road is a uncrossable chasm. And on the other side of that chasm is everything you want in life. That's kind of the point, is you can take the easy road. It's easy. I mean, you can just do the bare minimum, or you can challenge yourself and be hard on yourself, take the hard road, and eventually that hard road is going to lead to a bridge where you can just walk across that chasm and then just take a step on the other side. And you're like, that was easy. I was like, well, that part was easy. And that's the part that people see. And then they're like, well, must be nice. They don't see all the, they didn't see the hard path. They just saw you take a step from one side of the chasm to the other because you chose to take the hard road. And now this part is easy. Getting your goals is easy once you take the hard path. So that's something you got to remember to keep reminding yourself is you're out for you. Like, you're on your side. You're doing this for you while being mindful of other people. But if you take the easy path, you're going to find a chasm eventually down the road and you're like, I could not possibly cross that chasm. And it's like, well, you took the easy road. That's why. I mean, you take things easy and eventually down the road it's going to be hard. In fact, it's going to look impossible. And it's like, well, it wasn't impossible, but every step you took to get there was the bare minimum. So now you have a minimal amount of effort to achieve your goals. And if you take the easiest route possible, you're never going to achieve enough points to accumulate that goal. If you take the hard road, that's going to just keep chipping away at that column points, And goals are unmeasurable, but when you take those points in the hard road and do the hard things and things that people aren't willing to do, like run in 105-degree heat with 100% humidity. And people are screaming at you to stop. Like, you shouldn't be running. Like, I, I know me, okay? I know when to stop. I got a heart monitor. People honking at me, telling me to stop running. you, you don't know me. I feel like David Goggins. You don't know me. That was a funny story. David Goggins was once running. Well, he's always running. He was running a race, and he was running with a buddy. And his buddy checked in at some station. Like, I guess they have these stations on these really long distance runs. And they're like, "Have you seen Goggins?" You're like, "Yeah, he was through here a little while ago, screaming." And they're like, "Screaming? Who was he screaming at?" And they were like, "Himself." They don't know me. I'm like, that guy is hardcore, man. David Goggins. That was cool. Speaking of which, like I said, Boil the Frog is all about getting there but taking it easy. All right, not the easy path. It's the hard road. It's a longer road because you take it at smaller steps, but it's still a hard road that most people aren't willing to do to find them, have that conversation with themselves and figure out who they are. But one little thing I changed was I stopped dedicating a day for physical workouts. And I was like, well, I've been doing so much stretching and all these micro little weights that I don't need a day to dedicate to workout. Like every night, I call them micro workouts. I do like a little 15, 20-minute set while I'm singing in the garage. And if you do that every day, it's like the it's the principle of use it or lose it. Same as a seized doorway. If you don't exercise that doorknob all the time, eventually it's going to rust out and seize up. And that's what happens to your muscles. And so every day you do these micro workouts, every part, stretch every part. I mean, I did my run today. Oh, ironically, I changed it to, because of the heat, it forced me to stop at the hill, the hill I talk about in the book. In the heat, it was like I said, it was over 104 degrees and it was 100% humidity, and I had to stop. I know I said can't stop, won't stop, but in the heat, I'm like, yeah, I need to stop because this is too hot. So I inadvertently invented something I do 3 times a week now. Instead of just running 5 miles, trying to run the whole way 5 miles, it's no, stop at the hill and walk up the hill and wait till my heart rate gets down to 130 and I start running again. And I found that when I do that, if you're overheated, well, when I'm overheated, I figured out if I wait till I get down to 130 beats per minute, I could run the rest of the way. And not only run the rest of the way, I could sprint the finish. So I do that 3 times a week now. And while I'm walking up the hill and cooling down, and you're getting like every range of heart motion or heart rate motion. Like I was peaked probably around 167, 170, 172, right around there. You peak your heart rate after 4 miles, and then you walk until your heart rate's back down to 130, and then you can run the rest of the way. I'll call it the victory lap. You run the rest of the way after the 130, and then you get that whole benefit of you're in all of those heart rate zones. Like you're in the peak zone, you're at the semi-peak zone, you're at the fat burning zone. You're in all those zones a little longer because you're walking for a bit, so you got a little longer in your cardio that day, and you exercise through all those heart zones, and you challenge yourself to the peak for about, I think it's about 30 minutes. So you're at peak workout for about 30 minutes, and then you walk and you get your heart rate back down to 130, and that's going to help your resting heart rate. That's going to help your fat burning. That's going to extend your workout a little bit. So I figured out a way to increase my mileage by 5 miles per week and it not be unbearable. Like you give yourself a little break after 4 miles, and it's like, well, it's 4 miles. Like I said, don't compare. Just you can figure this stuff out for yourself eventually. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing. It just has to be a challenge for you. This is what a challenge is for me. Like running 4 miles in the blistering heat. That's a challenge that I'm willing to stop and walk for a bit just so I could finish. I mean, don't go in with your ego thinking you're just going to conquer everything. It was a happy little accident, as Bob Ross used to say. But there are no happy little accidents. There's only opportunities that came up because you took a right turn instead of a left turn. You know? Bob Ross, great guy. Okay. I want to talk the third topic, for keeping track, which by my viewership, nobody is. Third topic, tone and inflection. I hear a little podcasters say, they're all excited, they're screaming, they're trying to get you pumped up and doing all these things. I speak in a monotone, I hope a calm manner, because I remember Jordan Peterson talking about recently about the difference between intelligence and wisdom. And my immediate take on that, I was recently watching another podcast, and I think it's called Whatever. It's called At Whatever. And yeah, I don't know who he is. I just see reels. I don't actually watch the podcast. I just watch the reels. But somebody told him, it's like, I like what you said, but I don't like how you said it. And then he's like, well, I'm tired of all these people with a tone police, tone police out here. Like, I agree with what you said. I just don't like how you said it. And that's the difference between intelligence and wisdom. It's like, okay, yeah, you know a fact, but you know a fact that makes you intelligent. Like in that instance, you're intelligent. The wisdom would be to present that fact in a manner that doesn't make the other person feel like a complete piece of crap, like you're disrespecting the hell out of them. Like the wisdom is having some tact and knowing that you can shove facts down people, but they're never going to accept them if they think you're a jerk. Like it's just not going to happen. That's the difference between intelligence and wisdom, is knowing exactly what to say. And the wisdom is knowing that how you say it and how you present it matters. Your tone and inflection in your voice is its own language. It's another form of communication. It is interpreting to the person you're speaking of. It is interpreting to the person you're speaking to the exact level of respect you have for them. And you can hear that, and people automatically go on the defensive. So the lady had a point. I like what you said, but I don't like how you said it. That's not being tone police. That's saying you presented good facts, but you did so like a complete jerk. So it doesn't matter what you said. So, as I always say, keep something in mind, is your tone and your inflection. It's your own way of conveying respect. It's your own way of being listened to. If you convey with respect information to people, they're gonna listen. They're gonna consider it, at least, even if it's against everything they stand for. If you present it with some respect and tone, they're gonna actually listen to it. And it's like, well, I don't agree, but thank you for presenting it in a nice manner. Your tone is its own language. Let me demonstrate. Recently, actually, it wasn't recently. I think it was a Ted Lasso episode where he was like, man, once again, Last video, let me point something out. Last video, I was unprepared and I said, I want to talk about this person. I don't know who they are, but I wrote it in the comments. So if you ever watch a video and you're like, who was he talking about? It's always in the comments like the next day or so. So I'll always follow up in the comments. It was about don't be judgmental, be curious. And I want to say it was that was a quote by Walt Whitman. If that's not true, I will correct it. My apologies. And that's something that's a good example of when you a good example of something to think about is like when you ask someone a question, are you judging them or are you curious? Because they can hear that in your tone of voice, they can hear it in your inflection in your voice, and they can most assuredly, I know in my case, they can see it on the expression on your face, which I have no control over, apparently. Still, but that be curious, not judgmental. You can express that in your tone. Like, example, like, what are you doing? Like, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Just that example. Or like, what are you doing? Like, which one's judgmental? Which one's curious? Easy to see, easy to hear, easy to feel. This person's curious. Oh yeah, I'd love to talk to you about what I'm doing. But it was like, what are you doing? Like, my defenses just went up when you're toning them. I mean, my friend Steve, who, if there's any hostile comments in the bottom, it's probably him just being a jerk because he said he was going to do it. Don't do that, Steve. Anyway, one of his favorite quotes is, really? Because the tone and inflection makes me want to punch you in the face. That was one of my favorite quotes he used. Like, no, I didn't mean that. It's like, really? Because the tone you used and the inflection you used, we need to step outside. So, I mean, always remember your communication with other people is how they perceive your level of respect for them. So if you don't put in the effort to take a tone and make sure it's nice and make sure they're comfortable with what you're talking about, then you're just subconsciously they're picking up like, oh well, this person's a jerk. They're just judging me. They're just asking me a question just to judge me after, or they're just asking me a question to be curious. I mean, it's easily conveyed with your tone and inflection, and something that you should pay attention to because it really does communicate more than you think it does. And I used to be like that. Like, I used to say, no, that's just my tone of voice and that's just the way I talk. It's like, no, that's not the way you talk. You're annoyed, you're agitated, and that's coming through, and someone called you out on it, and now you feel like a jerk. So yeah, I consciously try to affect my tone, and when I realize I have used a tone that's inappropriate, I go out of my way to say I did not mean to say that like that. Like, I apologize. I was in the wrong. It's perfectly acceptable to admit when you're wrong. And sometimes I am. I am. Anyone who knows me calls me something, but he's like, but that's ours. He used a swear word, but they basically call me a jerk. They're like, yeah, he's a jerk, but he's our jerk. Because they know I'm on their side. Like, he's like, yeah, he's a jerk, but sometimes it works to our advantage because he will fight tooth and nail for us. So, I mean, I'm okay with that, but I'm only a jerk when I'm being a jerk too. I try not to be. I'll give you that one, just that one, a little bitty one. I'll give you that one, a little bitty one. Yeah, from what's that from? Green Mile. From Green. Just that one little bitty one. What's that guy's name? I love that actor. And we'll definitely put that in the comments. Sam Rockwell. Nailed it. Nailed it. I didn't have to look that one up. I don't have to type that one in the comments. All right. Sam Rockwell. Great actor. Anyway, those are my topics. Ran a little long. Oh, by the way, this week, yay, 1,000 Facebook followers. That's awesome. Very grateful. Very grateful to have you all here. I hope you like the reels I'm putting out. I'm taking these videos and doing a imposter, cutting up the vegetables, cutting up the reels, posting them. I just put a bunch of them. She had about 10 more coming pretty soon. And what's going to be made out of these? I'm going to be doing 2 of these a week, at least. So, as always, if you feel like messaging me, give me a message here. You got questions about anything? Happy to talk to you about it. Remember, challenge yourself, otherwise the world will. And you want to face adversity on your own terms. Good night.